Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Fashion Insiders & Co podcast. And this week I'm going to continue the theme of collections and talking about how to create a cohesive collection that results in commercial success. So the focus of today's episode will be on something that I call hybrid co-creation of collections. And basically what I wanted to share with you is an alternative way of growing your brand through adding more products that are not necessarily your own. And I will share with you reasons why this is an advantage and how to apply this in practice. So let's get going. Welcome to the Fashion Insiders podcast. This is your source for straight talking, no fluff fashion business conversations that add real value to the way passionate fashion entrepreneurs live, work, and thrive. Having the courage to start your own fashion brand and business, design, develop and manufacture your products can be a tough and lonely process. It may not be easy, but it can be simple. I'm your host, Desi, and I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a fashion entrepreneur and brand owner so that you can launch and grow a fashion business that is profit-rich, efficient, and can scale online and offline. And when done right, it allows you to generate a real tangible wealth for yourself and others. Let's go. So what is a hybrid? A hybrid is something that is a mixture of two or more things, right? And the traditional way of forming collections is to design your own range and find your own manufacturers and manufacture for yourself. That is what almost everyone starts off by doing and how brands are built. And that is the right way, particularly when you want to create a brand that is unique, that stands out among other brands on the market, and when you have something particular to say through your design and products. But that doesn't always have to be the case, and it's not the only way to create a brand. Sometimes there's an advantage to bringing products that originate in another brand, or they are made in a more generic kind of way and not necessarily by you, for you, etc. And that leads me nicely on to the second way of adding products to your brand, and which is the hybrid way, and that is to have products made on demand. Now, this day and age, we have a lot of POD, as they call them for short, print on demand platforms online where you can easily, from a selection of quite classic traditional styles of products, you can select what you want and have something, a design of your own, perhaps printed on top or embroidered. So mostly a print on design, as the name says, it's to do with print, but there's a lot of companies now who also offer embroidery services. Usually the products on these platforms are t-shirts, sweatshirts, vests, bags, mugs, all kinds of other things. And what is really good about this opportunity, that you can add certain types of products to your range without having to develop it for yourself, without having to find a factory, start a new relationship from scratch, commit to a minimum order quantity, which, as we all know, sometimes can be a real challenge, particularly when we are talking about classic products and basic products like t-shirts. If you have tried making t-shirts and you particularly want a t-shirt that is quite keenly priced, that factories would ask for quite a large minimum order quantity, and often it's just not workable. Not because, let's say, you can't afford it, but simply because maybe a t-shirt is not such a big part of your business and you don't want to commit to 500 t-shirts. So having the ability to tap into a source for certain type of products from platforms that print on demand and add to your range, it's quite a clever and easy way to add products to your brand without huge effort and financial commitment. What also print on demand is very good for is that you can use this kind of products offered by this platform as marketing products, as promotional products. If you have a service-based business, let's say, you can print some t-shirts with your logo or with certain slogans, and in this way market your business. If you have an accessories business, again, you can perhaps add some t-shirts and put your accessories images or again your logo. So t-shirts can be used as part of your brand for promotional purposes, but also you can add t-shirts with a particular design that is on brand to your brand as a entry price point. It's something that is, easily giftable for someone who loves your brand, something like that. And it doesn't have to be just t-shirts or sweatshirts. These platforms are constantly evolving and expanding their own range of products that they offer. So tapping into a service like print on demand can be quite useful way to add inexpensively to your own product range. Now, the next way for adding more product to your range is white labeling. White labeling basically it's goods that are quite, let's say, classic in or generic in shape and design, and the brands can buy from the factory from these goods, and they can put their own label. So they can pretend that they have designed it and made it specifically for themselves, when in reality they haven't. Now, this is something that quite often happens with jeans. Because in the fashion industry, for the mass market particularly, where jeans have to retail at keen price point and as well make nice margin for the retailer, this product has to be made similarly to t-shirts. It has to be made in large volume, and most smaller brands are not able to commit to such a large volume. So what factories do is that they manufacture a lot of jeans in a very classic shape, let's say, in the basic material. And then when smaller or medium-sized brands come and speak to these factories, they have the opportunity to buy a smaller quantity, but have then the jeans finished in a particular wash or color as per their requests, and then they put their own label at the back of the jeans. So this allows a brand to tap into a mainstream item of clothing or accessory that is quite classic in shape and design, but there's an opportunity for them to buy smaller quantity instead of the large quantity that the factory needs to manufacture, and to then label it with their own label. And maybe on occasion there's small possibilities for personalization. Again, I'm going to say here, it is not how most of you would want to build a brand. Certainly it's possible, and there are people who have built brands initially by only offering white labeled goods. But if you're a designer brand, if you have something that is very particular to your brand, design-wise, signature-wise, style-wise, etc., you may not want to completely commit to this way of working, but there's certainly an opportunity for you to add something that's missing in your range in a very safe way. But I'll explain a little bit more of this idea later. Now, the next idea of hybrid co-creation for your collections is to offer and sell someone else's goods. Now, what do I mean by this? This idea is a little bit on the lines of becoming an affiliate or working as an affiliate together with someone else. Let's say, for example, that you are a shoe brand and you sell shoes and you manufacture the shoes for yourself. Finding a producer perhaps or another brand that makes shoe care products like brushes or creams and cloths, for cleaning and maintaining your shoes and the leather and the material they're made of, is quite a nice way for you to add extra value to the products that your customers will be getting from you. Yesterday, for example, I was looking at one shoe brand, and that is exactly what I saw. That's why actually I'm sharing this example with you, because it comes to my mind. But they were a shoe brand that offered all kinds of sport shoes, and they also then offered a variety of shoe care products that were made and labeled by other companies. So they quite obviously, it's not theirs, but by offering these shoe care products on their website, they are offering extra value to their customers, and they're keeping them on their website, and they're making the customer spend more money with them. And obviously, if you think about it, they are selling more than one product. They are making a little bit of money from a product that is completely made by someone else. All the hard work and the heavy lifting has been done by someone else. And they are almost for next to nothing, with very little effort, making extra money from the final basket that the customer will end up paying for. And obviously, the next time this customer thinks of buying shoes, they would most probably come back to this website because this website provides value for them. In one place, they can find everything they need. They're not going to have to think where else can they go and find shoe care products to maintain their shoes. Similar idea to this can be, for example, cashmere brands, brands that make cashmere sweaters and cashmere products, etc. Very often they team up with other brands who provide cashmere care products like shampoos and brushes and whatnot that helps the buyer who buys a cashmere sweater to keep that cashmere in the best possible condition so that it can last longer. Again, that's a value. Another way to do this kind of hybrid way of creating your collection is to team up with another brand that offers perhaps products that you don't have in your collection. So say, for example, you're a clothing brand, maybe you want to offer some accessories that would go really nicely with your clothes, and you're helping your customer when they're looking to buy an outfit, that they can buy the outfit from you and the accessories also from you because you have specifically selected something that in your opinion goes really well with your clothes. And what's really interesting here is that quite often customers who buy from you, particularly in terms of clothing, is that they may like something, but they need a little bit more help with pulling the look together. And when a customer loves a brand, very often they want that brand to guide their style in more ways than one. So if you were to recommend another product, another designer, how to pull the look together, etc., very often customers will follow this down to the T of your suggestions simply because they really want to nail the look the way you've shown them, let's say through your social media channels or the way it's shown in magazines, and they don't know where to go and find these accessories. But if you were to offer them the opportunity in one place to buy it, that's a no-brainer for them. And more often than not, customers will buy more than one item in order to get that look. And the cost to you is very little. You're making extra money from the commission you're going to get from selling products that belong to someone else who has invested their time and money in developing and making sure that that range is perfect for being sold on the market. So working with other brands and offering their products on your website or within your physical store, let's say, it's an old tried and tested method. I mean, that's how independent boutiques are, right? They pull products from different brands into one place and offer a complete service and looks to their customer. And there's no reason why you can't do that as an independent, smaller brand online. All you have to do is find complementary brands to you, brands that are adding something to your collections, and strike a deal with them. And obviously work out the back end of your website and how are you going to know what's sold and how are you going to advise the other party of the sale, who's going to fulfill that order, will you hold the stock, will they hold the stock, how are you going to get paid for your commission, etc. So these are all kinds of back end systems that you have to put in place and work out. But I personally really like this form of hybrid co-creation because it allows you to test new ideas and offer more value to your customers. And that would only work in your favor and make you more money. Now, the last idea that I wanted to share with you was collaboration. And while collaborations are not new, and they have, especially through the pandemic, become a real kind of choice of how to move forward with your business, I want to show you why, if you haven't considered collaborations, collaboration is a good way to go forward. So when you collaborate with another brand, you can decide the parameters of that collaboration. You can co-create something together, which is completely unique, or you can tap into the production of the other brand that you have selected as your collaborator of choice, and you can give them your materials and they can make something for you that they already know how to make. They have the systems, etc., but they make it for you. And again, this is an inexpensive way of tapping into a new category, testing a new idea. I want to give you an example. A client I'm working with at the moment, she, around Christmas time, found herself with boxes full of leftover fabric from past productions. She didn't even know that these boxes existed, but her manufacturer had been carefully and lovingly, collecting and keeping. And then they gave her a call and they said, "We're sending you these boxes with all of this leftover fabric that's yours." And the fabrics, they were good quality and they were expensive fabrics, and they were too small for her to make a usual product, which are jackets and coats, and too big to throw away. And the kind of fabric wasn't something that lent itself to small accessories like what usually people do with end-of-line fabric. And while we were discussing and wondering what to do with this fabric, we had the idea to approach people for collaboration where she can use her fabric, but we can actually make product that she wouldn't normally make, but product that will complement what she was selling. And she would bring some newness, unexpected, in her case, newness, to her already loyal customer base. And we found someone for her to collaborate with and to make a pet range. So she gave her fabrics to this other brand who already has a solid offer of pet products. And they used her fabric to make, in their designs, some products for her. And they jointly labeled the new products with both of their names as to show that it was a collaboration. Now, what is really great for this way of working is that obviously it presents an opportunity for networking. You're meeting other people. But in the case of the brand founder I'm working with, she is putting to use these fabrics. She could have done nothing with them and eventually thrown them out. And this was fabric that she's already paid for because it was paid as part of her past production. But instead, we had the opportunity to make a new product that was going to be a surprise to her audience. It was very on brand because her target audience are the kind of people who often have dogs, and they would love to have something to buy for their pet in the same fabric as the products that they love buying from this particular brand. And she didn't have to look for new manufacturer. She didn't have to spend time and effort sampling, cutting new patterns, going through that whole process of development, which can be quite resource and finance heavy. And she didn't have to deal with any minimum order quantity. She literally sent the fabric to the other brand who was already manufacturing this product. And all they did was that they actually added on to their production a few extra units in a different material. So nothing on their side changed. And all of a sudden they had a no-brainer collaboration that both of these brands now are going to promote. And therefore they're going to kind of cross-pollinate, let's say, their customer base. So all of a sudden they're going to gain exposure to a whole new set of people who may not have known of the other brand simply through that collaboration. And for the brand founder that I'm working with, it was a win-win. It was literally a no-brainer solution to a small problem that she found herself to have. And it's going to generate more press for her, more press opportunities. It's going to attract a whole load of new people. It's going to excite her existing customers and offer them a lower price point and something that is different and giftable and shoppable in a completely new way. And it's going to make a profit. So making collaborations is quite a useful, practical way of bulking up your product offer. And as I've already alluded to, there is quite a lot of benefits of such a collaboration in practical terms, but also in terms of marketing and creating additional layer of brand value and exposure for both brands. So collaborations can also serve a purpose for you to build your range rather than always originate from the need to market and grow the exposure for your brand. You can actually collaborate with brands strategically from the point of view, what am I missing in my range? How can I add a little bit of extra newness and tap into a new category, experiment and test something new without committing resources and time? What is the best way to do this? And collaboration is one of them. In fact, all of the other ways, print on demand, white labeling, selling someone else's products, and collaboration, all of these four ways do exactly that. They allow you the opportunity to add more product to your range in a very risk-averse, low-cost ways. Now, let's get into the more business side of things, of this kind of hybrid co-creation way of building your collections. In order for this to work for you, it's really important that you keep in mind three key factors that need to be in place in order for you to make money at the end of it and not have wasted your time and financial resources. Now, the number one key factor for you to keep in mind is that no matter what you're adding to your range, especially if it's coming from an external source and not from your own design table and manufacturing facility, whatever you're adding to your existing range, you need to make sure that it fits in with what you've already got. You need to continue that family look that we talked in the past podcast episode. You need to keep that cohesiveness together, and you need to make sure that that product has a reason for being and it fits in with everything else. So it can't, unless the purpose of this product is to pattern interrupt, and to really kind of become a focal point and disrupt everything you have created so far, this product needs to seamlessly fit into everything you are currently offering. The second key factor that you have to bear in mind is that you need to be more strategic when you're bringing external products like this into your brand. You really need to evaluate and analyze your brand and understand what are the gaps in your collection, and then think, how can I fill that gap? Now, the gap can be in terms of product, or the gap can be in terms of price point, as we've covered in a past, again, in the last podcast episode. You remember that you need depth and breadth of offer in order for your range to be commercially successful. So after analyzing your product range, your current existing product range, if you spot any gaps in terms of product offer or in terms of price point, now is the moment to start thinking, well, how can I, in a very quick and inexpensive way, fill that gap and make use of this opportunity that I have in front of me? That opportunity that you have in front of you also is an opportunity to experiment. When you bring in external products via the channels that I've just discussed with you, they often come with, obviously, less risk. There is no attachment to minimum order quantity. There's no initial investment spent in terms of money or time to develop the idea. So it's a really good way for you to experiment. If you ever wondered, what if, could I potentially sell product X? Finding someone to collaborate with or to buy from them and offer as an affiliate their products into your range, it's a really nice way of finding out if that assumption and that idea you had is going to work for you. If you actually think at traditional independent boutique retail, you may notice that after years of them selling other brands, all of a sudden they launch their own in-store brand. Why do they do that? Have you ever asked yourself why? Well, I'll tell you. The reason they do this is because when they notice that something season after season sells really well, they often end up to a point where they say to themselves, well, why don't we then start making this product for ourselves? We know we have the clientele and we know this product works. And if we made it ourselves, we then don't have to worry about this designer changing direction and all of a sudden not being able to stock this particular product. But also by making it themselves, they can make a better margin, because the margin that you can make as a designer to end retailer is much bigger than the margin that you're going to make as someone who buys at wholesale price and then retails. So obviously it's a no-brainer for them. Now, they would have to invest their time and resources to develop this product, but they already know that that works. They already know what works, what price point, what quality, what colorways, which design exactly. And so it's a no-brainer investment. They know that they're going to get the return on their investment. And so that's why I'm saying to you that if you are looking to build your brand and expand your brand offer and you're considering going into other categories, this is a really nice way of doing it, by working with someone else, bringing some external products into your own range and testing an idea. And if it works, great. You have the data and the confidence to move forward and find different ways of bringing that product into your range on a more permanent basis. And if it doesn't, well, then great. I mean, you didn't spend a lot of time and money on it, and you've learned an invaluable lesson. So that's that. Filling a gap is really important factor for you to be aware of. And the last factor to remember and bear in mind is that you need to make sure that whatever you bring in from an external source fits in financially into the financial picture of your collection. So it needs to fit in price-wise into your range. It has to play a financial role within your range. It has to serve a financial purpose in order for it to be part of your range. And by that, what I mean is that perhaps, let's say if you're bringing t-shirts to your brand, maybe making t-shirts yourself is never going to be cost effective, but you need that kind of entry price point for your brand. So maybe in that way, it's making sense to bring in external t-shirts into your collection by buying them from somewhere else. A, you get to make a little bit of money on them, and B, you don't have to commit to a minimum order quantity. Whatever you do, it needs to make financial sense from the customer point of view and from your own business point of view. So that's, again, really important to remember. Now, as you probably know, if you've listened to the past couple of episodes, I am about to launch a 4-week online course called Fashion Collections That Sell. And everything that I've discussed in the past couple of episodes and this episode is content that in much deeper way I'm going to go in that course. And as you can already probably see, it's the kind of foundational knowledge that every brand founder should have. This is how you build brands. This is how you grow brands and scale. You can't grow and scale if you don't have these foundations. And yet there's practically no one talking about it. And, when people get to learn what I'm about to share in this course with you all is through their own mistakes, through their own learnings, which are very costly. So I would encourage you, if this is something that is of interest to you and you want to learn more, I would encourage you to put your name on that list, and very shortly there will be more information and opportunity for you to join it and be part of this cohort of students. So I hope you found this episode interesting and thought-provoking. I hope what I've shared with you allows you to think more creatively about how to build your collections and how to grow your brand. And I hope that if you needed a permission to explore alternative routes and not be constrained by what the industry dictates or how it looks like others are doing it, you have that permission through everything that I've shared with you. There's more than one way of achieving what you want. We strangely have found ourselves living in a world where we believe that things are black or white, that it can be done this way or that way. But I'm here to give you the permission to actually experiment with trying both and trying more than one way of getting the end result that you want. And certainly going down the hybrid co-creation collection route is one way that many have done it in the past. They just don't brag about it. They just don't make it super obvious. They don't hide it, but they don't promote it. And yet it's an important way of how they build their brands and helped their cash flow. So if you enjoyed this episode, as always, please share it with others. Take a snapshot on the device you're listening from and share on social media. And again, I invite you to sign up to the link below and find out more about the course I'm due to launch very soon and take part of it and learn with me and from me how to build really solid collections in a way that allows you to grow and scale your brand effortlessly. Thank you so much for now, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Hey, thank you for tuning into the show and listening all the way to the end. If you want to know more about any information referred to in this episode, we've got all the links listed in the show notes, which you can find over at www.fashioninsiders.co/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and conversation, make sure to subscribe to the show and get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. And if you have any questions, I'd love to help you. Email me your questions to insider@fashioninsiders.co or just send me a DM over on Instagram. Finally, I'd really appreciate it if you could open up the app on your phone and leave me a super quick rating or review. Your reviews tell iTunes that this is a great podcast and it's worthwhile listening and sharing. And that can help me and my guests reach even more people. So that's it for today. I'll be back soon with another episode. And until then, thank you again for listening.